So have you ever done your makeup and then looked in the mirror and had this sinking, sneaky suspicion that all of your makeup efforts are actually making you look older or your skin worse than it was before? If you've had these concerns, it's probably not your imagination. Makeup is this amazing thing that has the capacity and the ability to work magic when we understand how to use it properly. But makeup can also cause some trouble for us if you don't really understand what type of products to be using where. So I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that I see a lot of my clients doing when I first meet with them. First thing that you might be doing that's making your skin look older as opposed to better, which is the whole point of using makeup, has to do with the texture of product that you're choosing. If you are reaching for heavier, thicker makeup products, it's often going to make the skin just look worse, frankly. What are we talking about here? So heavy, thick foundations, and specifically around the eye areas where we really need to watch out for this. One of the most common mistakes that I see a lot of women making is using concealer, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that, but using a heavier cream concealer, so something that comes in these, a little pot, or maybe it comes in a little sort of lipstick tube style. Cream concealers like that are great for covering up like blemishes or, any kind of hyperpigmentation spots on the face. But once you're past the age of about, 30, you really don't want to be using these type of heavier concealers near the eyes. What you want to be doing is switching over to like a liquid concealer. Something like this, which is essentially like a foundation, but it's just a really concentrated foundation. It's got a lot more coverage to it, so that a little bit goes a really long way. So you want to be using liquids, and I'll just give you a quick demo here. So on this eye here, I just used a little bit of foundation earlier today when I did my makeup, but now I'm going to show you what can happen if you put on a really thick, heavier type of coverage on that. So I'm just going to go in here and blend it in. And I don't know how well that's showing up. The color's not great here, but you can see how all of a sudden you're seeing a lot more skin texture, which is not what we want. We really don't want to see a whole bunch of texture. Heavier products are going to highlight wrinkles in the skin, and again, it's going to make skin that really wasn't dry before all of a sudden look really crepey and dry, which is definitely not what we want with our makeup. So moral of the story is, especially around the eye area, don't use anything thick. No thick foundations, no thick concealers. There's always a trade-off, right? And I always talk about this between how much coverage you're going to get and sort of how flawless something's going to appear and how natural it's going to appear. And as the degree of coverage goes up and things are getting more and more flawless, they're also going to start to look less and less natural, and you're going to start to see more of that kind of makeup-y effect. The skin's not going to look as nice. The makeup might start to crack, like where you can see the lines and the wrinkles. Personally, I really much prefer less coverage, but more natural looking. All right, the second thing that you might be doing that is making your skin look older as opposed to more radiant and beautiful has to do with powders. A lot of us get into habits with powders, and the use of powder, like any other style of makeup, really comes and goes, right? Where at certain points in time, really heavily matte powdered skin is much more in style, and at other times more dewy, glowy, radiant looking skin is in style. And so depending upon what sort of your really formative years of makeup were, you might still very much be in the habit of using powder automatically. However, as we age, our skin naturally typically dries out. We don't tend to have so much oil naturally being produced on the skin, and we actually want to leave whatever oils we do have on the skin there so that we've got this like really beautiful, glowy, radiant, dewy looking skin. Of course, this is a different story if you're someone who's got really naturally super oily skin. That's a little bit of a separate discussion. I'm talking about probably the other, kind of 75% of the population that doesn't have that super oily skin. You've got more normal to average skin. Heavy use of powders is not necessarily going to be helping you out. So what am I talking about here with powder? A lot of clients, a lot of women are in the habit of, when they do their makeup, taking their powder, their pressed compact and their big fluffy brush, and loading up that brush with a bunch of powder, and then just automatically going and matting down the skin. And the problem with this is that it really has the effect of making the skin look more dry and papery, which I don't know how well you can see it here on the camera. So this side I've left, natural, glowing, healthy. This side I've powdered down heavily, and it's a subtle effect, but you can really see it in person, especially. This side of my face now is going to look, frankly, older. The skin is just not going to look as youthful and vibrant. So yes, there's a time and place for powder. I'm not saying that powder is always bad, but when you're using powder, you just want to make sure that you're using it really strategically and you're not just automatically going in and doing a big sweep of powder over your whole face. Tip number 3 has to do with eye makeup, specifically the use of really heavy-handed eyeliners. Some women can really get away with this. Donatella Versace, Donna Karan, some of these really, dramatic, European, high fashion women can, it really suits their sense of style to have these really heavily rimmed eyes with dark, heavy eyeliner. For the rest of us, it can be really harsh doing just heavy, unblended eye pencil. So instead of doing this dark rimming of the eyes with pencil, you want to play around with using shadows. So again, here on my eyes here, I've just done really nice soft eyeshadow to line the eye. I'll show you now what I'm talking about though with the really heavy black eyeliner pencil. So going in and just doing this really strong dark line over the whole top lid. While dramatic, it's definitely dramatic for sure, but it's too harsh. It has this effect of making the whole eye look really small, and unless you've got the rest of the proper eyeshadows and everything on to blend it out and balance it, it's not a great look. So I'm doing this a bit extreme. I'm being a little extreme here to make a point, but just blend that a little bit. That's a little too heavy. But it's just this really heavily rimmed eye makeup. Just when you look at your beautiful face and you've got this really heavy eyeliner on, it just dominates. All we see, all our eye is drawn to when we look at you, when you've got this style of really heavy eye makeup, is just to the eyeliner. It's distracting, and it has the effect of closing the eye down as opposed to making it bigger and more open. So I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for heavy eye makeup. Absolutely there is, and there's definitely a time for eye pencils, but you want to be using them with the rest of the eye makeup done in a way that it's well blended and you're going for more of that smoky eye effect, which then helps to not make it look like you've just got this really dark sort of beady eye effect. All right, so I hope you find those tips helpful, and if you've got any makeup questions that you would like answered here, feel free to leave a comment in the section below on YouTube here. And if you like what you see, if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to make sure you're notified of any upcoming videos. Until next time.